What is this I see going on? Huh? What is this I see going on? Huh? Is white folk finally admitting they were wrong after all these years? They're finally admitting they're wrong and coming clean. Sometimes you gotta smile and sometimes you just gotta take it in. Welcome to another Global Vibe Network. Well, today we gonna hear what some of these white people have to say about no longer being a racist. So some of y'all might find it strange, but some of us say maybe it's long overdue. So we ain't even gonna waste that much time talking and stuff like that, because it ain't about what I gotta say, it's about what they gotta say. And I need y'all to hear this. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. After you watch a video, you can leave a comment and make sure you give this video a thumbs up. So without no further ado, let's hop right into the video.
Truth about why probably most Gen Z white people are racist is because black people treated us like shit for no reason. Y'all's millennial parents raised you to be racist to white people. And so you go out into the world treating white people like crap, and you're shocked to your freaking core when white people don't like you. And black people like to act like this just doesn't make any sense. They're like, we've treated young white people like shit for their entire life. I wonder why they're growing resentment. But if a black person experiences racism for their entire life, which is not even probably 1% of what white people experience, black people don't even get real racism. Okay, white people are the ones who experience racism. The black people get like the minute racism and they're like freaking out. White people just deal with it. It's pattern recognition, man. It comes from somewhere. You gotta accept accountability.
Everything she said is 100% correct. There's literally college courses saying that they need to dismantle whiteness and that all white people are colonizers and that they should apologize for just being white and pay black people reparations, even if they themselves never owned slaves or their families ever owned slaves. And some black people even believe even if their ancestors weren't slaves, they deserve reparations. We're told this isn't our country, that we're on, stolen land, and that we should go back to Europe. But when you go to Europe, they say that that's not our land either. Just look at what's happening in Britain. The #1 name in the UK is Muhammad. They say Europe shouldn't be majority white, America shouldn't be majority white, when in the world, whites are the minority. We're about 8 to 12% of the world's population. So everywhere we go, they say that we're evil, that we don't belong, that, you participated in conquest and slavery, so therefore you're all evil. And they completely forget the fact that their races, their ancestors have all done the same things, have done wars, have participated in slavery, have done evil things. And when white people say, oh man, let's just all be equal, let's all work together, and then you have black people or people of color come up to us and they say, no man, we don't want to coexist, we don't want to be equal because of Jim Crow, because of slavery, because of what your people did to our people. And they slap our hand away and say, you know what, no, we don't accept your apology, even though we shouldn't apologize for what we didn't do. And they say, you should give the land back, you should give us money, you should give us this, that, and the other. So yes, there can never be true equality or peace unless we come out and say enough is enough. Black people need to drop slavery, drop Jim Crow, drop all this stuff, and stop blaming white people who had nothing to do with it for everything. And we can work together, or the cycle is just going to keep on repeating, and there will be more resentment.
Dear black people, could you stop making videos that say, dear white people, if you don't have a problem with people that look like me, would you be my friend? Racism died with Gen X. As a widespread issue, that was boomers. It died with Gen X. Most of us are grandparents now, and apparently you didn't even notice. Like, we put in the work. We stopped judging people by the color of their skin, and you didn't even notice. But now we feel your judgment all the time, and we're tired of walking on eggshells. because we know there's a very good chance that you probably have a problem with our skin color, and because you assume that we're racist while you're being racist. It died down so much that now youth, a lot of white youth, uses the N-bomb. I can't imagine doing that. I can't. It hurts me, but they use it casually. It's not because they're racist. Nope. It's because it's a huge part of pop culture, and it has been for 30 years, over 30 years, since hip-hop went mainstream, since gangster rap went mainstream, and the word was everywhere. And kids today are baffled by racism. They think it's so stupid that it's laughable. Yet there's a word that is ubiquitous in pop culture that a large percentage of the population just isn't permitted to use. They don't understand that. They think it's ridiculous, so they rebel against it. As kids do when they don't understand something and they see it as ridiculous and dumb. You can feel how you feel about that. I feel how I feel about it. I don't like it at all. I taught my kids to never say that word because it was a word that was created for hate. But the word has changed, I guess. I can't change the way I view it, but for them it's changed. Dear black people, oh, I love you. I love your culture. I love your swagger. I love your hair. I love how you can speak with roundness while I speak in squares and triangles. But I also love my culture, and I love my hair, and I love my skin, and I love your skin, and I love our differences and our commonalities. And it's time to heal. If you don't focus on healing how you view white people, and then how you view yourselves in relation to white people, because the superiority complex only ever masks an inferiority complex, then we're going to be doing a civil rights movement for white people in like 20, 30 years. And I know some of you would like that. But that just says that you're the racist now because white people aren't the racist anymore. And I'm not saying there isn't a single white person who's racist. There's assholes in every group and every color. But the majority of us left that with our parents or grandparents. It doesn't even make sense to us. And we don't need to feel guilty about what our ancestors did because we're the ones that fixed it. It's over now. Unless you want to perpetuate it.
White people, if we want racism to truly go away in America, our voices have to be some of the loudest in condemning it. If you've been paying attention at all, you know and you understand the aggressive attempt that is happening right now to whitewash our world. We've had many people with black or brown skin color removed from prominent positions within the government. We've even had their achievements removed from government websites. There's a blatant attempt to rewrite history when it comes to slavery, with some going as far as to say it wasn't that bad, or we should teach it more gently. And that's just the very tip of the iceberg. White people, do you want to live in a world that is completely void of color? Do any of you guys not hang out with people of different skin color than you? Where are your voices on their behalf? Why are things like this happening over and over again to them, and we are not screaming in enragement? And most importantly, why are we expecting them to do anything whatsoever to combat this? They didn't create this problem. People who look like us did, and people who look like us continue to perpetuate the problem. So then it's people who look like us whose voices have to be the loudest in condemning their behaviors. No, it's not okay to come after our friends who aren't white. No, it's not okay to minimize them. No, it's not okay to hurt or harm them. We are the ones with the privilege, and nothing is going to change unless we use our voices on their behalf. Nobody is better than anybody else because of the color of their skin. But our government is trying to send the opposite message. The only way to stop that is for our voices to be louder, for us to shame people for having such backwards and racist thinking, to call people out when they say the quiet parts out loud. If you're white, I don't know what you're waiting for. The time is now. I've never organized any kind of march or protest before, but it would be my absolute dream, while our black and brown brothers and sisters are at home resting, for all of us white people to be out marching on their behalf, standing in solidarity and support of their communities. I will say this on record. If anybody is in the midst of organizing something like this, please contact me. I will lend my voice however I possibly can to your cause. Right now we have a bunch of white people that are united in their common goals of supremacy. We have to have a bunch of white people that are on the opposite side as a counter-resistance to their efforts. If racism is going to stop, we have to be the ones to stop it.
Well, I know a lot of black Americans are probably saying, what is going on? Is this really true? You know, hearing what some of these white folks have to say about racism and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times they don't talk about it. A lot of times they try to shun it and stuff like that. And no matter how much we talk about it, sometimes they don't really want to hear it. And, you know, like I said before, they just want us to sweep it under the rug, but we're not going to do that. But it's finally good to hear some of these white folks coming clean about their racism and how they view racism. So that's definitely a good look. So maybe this is a wake-up call for America. Maybe the whole America will change, but you never know. Some things might remain the same, and we just got to deal with it. But it's finally good to hear some of them coming out and saying what they have to say. So let's continue with the video.
I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to The Resistance. I've been trying for a while now to figure out how to talk about something that's been on my mind, and recent events, I think, finally pushed it up. What I want to say is that racism is a white people problem. A white people problem that others are forced to live with. As a white man, I've never had to be afraid of being pulled over by the cops. As a white father, I've never had to have that special talk with my kids about not looking wrong or saying the wrong thing to a cop for fear that they wouldn't come home again. I've never had to worry about being turned down for a mortgage because of the color of my skin or where to go jogging. Never had to worry that I could be scooped up by ICE just for looking like I might belong to the wrong group, even though I was born here. I've never committed the misdemeanor crime of selling cigarettes. But if I did, it wouldn't be a capital offense. These are things that people of color have to deal with every stinking day. These are things that white people allow, that white people cause. I think I'm finally ready to talk about it now because of the state that our country's in, the permission that Donald Trump has given for racist behavior, and the hope I recently felt when I saw the latest poll numbers. For reasons that never made sense to me, Donald Trump has gained support in nearly every demographic when he won his last election, including non-white communities. But now, recent polling suggests that just about everybody is finally seeing him for what he is. They're seeing his racism, and the racism emanating from this administration like stink from a skunk. And they're saying it's not okay. He's lost everything that he gained, and then some, among all these groups. Well, every group except one. That one group is white, non-college educated men, the last stronghold of Trump's race-based politics. Polling indicates that a majority of this group is still standing solidly behind Trump and his policies. Unfortunately for them, they're not going to be any better off under Trump's policies than anybody else. Maybe one day they'll realize that their racism isn't worth what they're losing. And maybe the rest of us will realize something too, that racism is a white people problem, and it's up to white people to solve it. It's up to white people to call it out among their coworkers, their friends, and their family. It's up to white people to be the loudest and proclaim that racism is no longer acceptable in American institutions. It's up to white people to make sure that we're not voting for the racists. Thanks for listening. Good day.
And I certainly don't think that black people should just expect racism because white people are going to stop being that way. There's plenty of people that are still going to be that way. But just because I'm white or we're white doesn't mean that we are.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's literally what that means. Look, my fellow rice cakes, I'm going to say something out loud that you would probably prefer I kept to myself, but we are terrible at self-examination because we are obsessed with being perceived as good. We are good people with good intentions who do good things, and we know that racism is bad, so we're offended by the mere insinuation that we could be capable of dehumanizing anybody. And that line of thinking right there is why we continue to take L's left and right, because you can't confront a problem if you don't acknowledge the problem exists. Listen, you are not evil and bad because you were born white, and no reasonable person is saying that you are. What we're saying is that it is a problem if you don't acknowledge what it means to have been born white in a racist society. It is a problem if you're not willing to examine the privileges, I know we all hate that word, but the privileges, the benefits, and the means of insulation we inherit by virtue of being born white. And it's not that we can't experience other disadvantages, including some that we may share with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. We can be discriminated against on the basis of our sexuality, our gender, our physical abilities, our economic status. There are plenty of reasons why a given white person might grow up in a shitty situation. But the color of our skin has never, ever, ever, ever been one of those problems. And if you can't say that out loud, then you're being racist. White folks, we have to disabuse ourselves of this notion that to be racist is to walk around throwing out the N-word left and right. That's not what that means. Racism sleeps. Racism waits. Racism is little things that you don't even know that you're doing until somebody tells you about it after the fact. If you could always see racism from space, then we, and by we I mean white people and only white people, wouldn't have been so shocked over the last few years to discover that so many of our loved ones are big old racist bags of shit. Because one, racism is subtle, it sneaks up on you, it manifests in tiny ways, and two, we never had to interrogate those behaviors because we were insulated by racism. Listen, bigotries of all kinds often manifest unconsciously, by accident, and the only way we can catch it, the only way we can be vigilant, is to rely on other people to let us know and then to build our experience around that knowledge. If you can just get comfortable with the fact that prejudice is an inherent part of the human experience, then getting feedback about it will involve a lot fewer tears and heartbreak. In conclusion, my fellow Snowmericans, to be good is to accept your limitations and be okay with being wrong.
So you know what would be a good thing if all these people who are, in the, racist feelings would finally admit what they are, like what you have seen in this video, finally admitting the truth and stuff like that. And that's what we've been speaking about for the longest, my people, that, acknowledge the truth, speak the truth, and maybe we could find a common ground to move forward. Because if you can't acknowledge the problem, then how are we going to get to a solution? First, you got to admit that you were wrong, because you can't deny what, whether your white ancestors did to my black ancestors and what's been embedded in y'all for all these years. So it's good to finally hear some of y'all come out and speak the way y'all speak. I commend y'all on that. Like I said, my people, if you found this video interesting and you finally get something out of it that you need to get out of it, then leave a comment in the comment section and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We check you out in the next video.